want to welcome everybody to our Capital Soccer Club Director Town Hall meeting. We thought it was important to kind of hold something at the end of our season to kind of wrap everything up, and then also at the same time talk about some of the things that we know are on people's mind as we move into our new 2020-2021 season. Obviously, it is different times that we're dealing with, and we're facing different challenges as individuals and as an organization. So we thought it would be helpful to hold this Zoom town hall to try to make things a little bit clearer for everybody, and then finally answer any questions that people have. So the way that this is going to work is each one of the directors, myself, Peter Kim, Eric Bagley, and George Cook, we're all going to talk about some different things, and then at the end we're going to answer whatever questions the people on the call have. And so the way that the questions will work is if you send me a direct message in the chat, so if you just send it to John Del Perscoli at any point during the town hall, I'll put it in the queue, and then I'll ask it during the Q&A session at the end. So feel free at any time to pop in a question, and I'll take a look at the end, and we'll kind of go through the list and answer as many as we can. Yeah, so we are recording this, so we're going to throw it up on our YouTube page, so other people who are missing the meeting can watch it, and we'll also be putting out a list of FAQs on our website, so you can go and revisit and see what the official answers to a lot of the questions are at a later point. So with that, I'd like to invite our Director of Soccer and co-founder of Capital Soccer Club, Peter Kim, who is going to start just by giving us a little recap of how we ended the season. Pete?
Hey, thanks, John, and good evening to everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us. So certainly an unprecedented year for us, and we made our way through, but I just wanted to kind of share with you our thoughts on, what happened during the season, what we learned, and what we're taking from the season going forward. So the season did start way back in November when our oldest teams went down to Massachusetts to play a competitive tournament down there. And then they sort of tapered off for the winter months, and the remaining teams picked up for winter training in Montpelier. Those training sessions continued all the way through. We were able to finish those training sessions and just had started our Civic Center season with our futsal league play and our indoor training, as well as our additional programs when the lockdown happened and we had to roll things up for in-person training. So from that point, it was a little bit of a scramble for us. We were learning on the fly, and we were fortunate that in particular, John Del Perscoli really held things together by offering immediate and consistent content online, training sessions, video demos, and really trying to continue something that we've really been pushing for the past several years, which is connecting technique with tactics, connecting technical ability and physical ability, for that matter, with actual decisions that happen in the game. So John put out regular training sessions throughout the week, and then as soon as we could, we started linking up our coaches with our teams for individual and team meetings over Zoom or over phone call, however they elected to do it. So that got us all the way through the spring. we participated in the committee that that drafted the return to play protocols for the governor's task force, and so we were pretty well versed on what the requirements were going to be. It was never going to be easy, but we felt like we were prepared. We ordered the extra equipment and the extra facilities, and hit the ground running in early June. We got about a month's worth of training in, so teams trained twice a week, and every team got somewhere between 2 and 4 matches before we finished up at the end of July, July 19th. So, a couple of things that we learned from the process. One, we were very diligent about figuring out the mechanics of operating safely. Got up to speed with health screenings, distancing during downtime at training, coach safety protocols, etc. I think, we learned a lot about how to deliver content online. And I think, were we to need to do that again, we would be able to enhance that even more. And I think an important one for us is, now that we've had a taste of what happened over this spring, we would want to make sure that we got our coaches directly involved with our teams and our players over Zoom as soon as any sort of change in schedule happened. So all in all, we felt like it was successful. We got a lot of great feedback, and we also, we're very grateful for people who took the time to share their thoughts about what we did well and what we can do better. So we encourage that open dialogue from everybody in the club to help us move forward a little bit stronger.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to invite Eric Bagley to come in and just give a little overview of the registration process as we move into this new season. Obviously, we're not holding tryouts in person, so it's a little bit different this year, but I'll let Eric kind of take over from here and give us a little update on that. Eric?
Thanks, John. Hi, guys. Really briefly, as I think everybody saw from the emails that went out, we are planning on running a full season this year, starting with indoor training in November after the scholastic seasons are finished. We have asked everybody to register their interest in playing for the club, similar to how you would register for tryouts in the past years. Basically, we need folks to do that so that we have an idea of numbers of what teams we're going to be able to run, the players that are interested, and how we're going to be able to create the training groups for this season. The deadline for folks to register, we're asking everybody to register by this Saturday, so August 1st. All players who played last year are going to be invited back. You'll all receive an acceptance letter, and new players to the club will be coming in for player evaluations. By Saturday, August 8th, I'm hoping that all acceptance letters and notification letters are going out to the club. So everybody should hear from me directly via email by next Saturday. And if you have registered and you don't hear from me, please make sure to contact me immediately. Thanks. Great.
Thanks, Eric. Again, just a good overview there. I know the two registration links, or the initial tryout registration link was a little confusing for some people, so more clarity with that is good. Speaking of the new season, I'm going to invite Peter Kim back in here to kind of just give us a brief overview of the club's philosophy and how we approach the game and how we approach education and what that means from an organizational standpoint. So, Pete, you want to come back in?
Yeah, thanks. We feel like this is an important thing to have a conversation with our families about, and hope that we can maintain a dialogue about it, because the philosophy of the club does translate directly to how we operate from winter through spring and into summer. And I think it's just important for you to hear that, we started Capital Soccer Club way back when, not as a venue for people to play soccer. We started Capital Soccer Club as a place where soccer players could come to play better and to learn and to experience, the higher level of coaching, higher level of competition. And we've learned a lot since then. And we realized how the pieces of player development fit together, and have gone kind of back and created a structure and a series of programs that are designed to enhance the entire soccer landscape in central Vermont. So, I mentioned that the club was not originally designed for players to come and play soccer who hadn't played before. We have our camps and our indoor clinics and things like that are really oftentimes introductory. But every soccer coach will say the exact same thing, no matter what level in this country, that in the end, we're looking for players to play more soccer. And I think that we want to make sure that there's a difference between playing soccer and putting on your uniform and coming out and playing soccer for your club team or your high school team. So we went back and created some programs that would strengthen the foundation of the club. One of those is to start street soccer games. So we have pickup soccer going in a number of communities in central Vermont. Just they're open to anyone, and the sole purpose is to just create more soccer, having more free, fun soccer opportunities for kids to play, and adults for that matter, without necessarily having the coaching, but actually just playing, developing, growing, experimenting with moves and skills like that. We also established Fall Academy, and we were very, very deliberate in the fact that the Fall Academy was not going to be a preparation for competition. You'll hear us quote from our coaching curriculum often that there's a difference between winning and being good, and we would like to do both. But oftentimes, when you're preparing for a match, for competition, it's easy to skip over the details, the fundamentals, not to mention the creative aspects of the game. So the academy model was a way for us to focus on training and playing in a controlled environment, where we don't take our teams out to play in the Vermont Soccer League or out of state tournaments, but rather try to give our players what we think that they need. So we've got the street soccer, then we have the academy model, which we hope to continue growing. We have supplemental programs that many of which John runs as part of our overarching Dragon method, which is a pathway from backyard or street soccer through the academy program all the way to our competitive teams, and ideally up to our adult amateur teams and even college soccer. So I thought it was important for you guys to understand that there's an awful lot of method to our madness, and it will all of those elements inform how we set up our schedule, and quite frankly, how we will address any future setbacks that come from public health issues or anything like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to invite George Cook in here to talk about how we're handling the tuition payments in the upcoming season. So I'll pass it over to George.
Great. Thanks, John. And thanks, everybody, for being here. You know, when COVID really struck in the middle part of March, we did have to do some fast thinking with in regards to our budget, just like all of businesses here in Vermont. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about our thoughts for how we're going to manage things going forward. For those of you who have been with Capital for a while, one of the things that we had to figure out pretty quickly was we were told we couldn't run the Bailey Jamboree in Stowe this year, which is the club's major fundraiser. We also decided not to run our annual spring raffle, which is the second largest fundraiser that we have each year. We have been fortunate enough to get our finances sorted. And one of the things that we're really happy to report is for the first time, at least since I can remember, there's no increase in player tuition. So when players register, they'll be asked to kind of, sign up, and we'll charge the typical $25 fee that we've charged every year for the past couple of years once players register. After that, I would say the biggest decision that we've made is we usually charge every month starting in the middle of August, and we're going to back that up 2 months. So usually the tuition payments begin on August 15th. We're intentionally backing those up until October 15th because we know people have questions about what's going to happen next. So it's our plan and our hope to run an indoor season, run an outdoor season, and hopefully have a normal club year. But what this will allow is for us to really gauge where things are at in early November, because that's when the club teams will begin training. So 2 weeks out, we should have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Now, the reason that we're not making any firm decisions one way or the other is, as you can see with what's going on in the schools, not just here in Vermont, but nationwide, things are changing almost every single day. So what we've done is, I think we've given everybody a pretty good cushion of backing things up 2 months. And then by October 15th, when the first tuition payment is due, excuse me, we'll have a good idea in terms of whether or not we're going to be starting or not. We're happy to kind of put ourselves out there a little bit. And by that, I mean, the club does have expenses that we cannot ignore, that we will have to make. Sometimes these aren't really noticeable to folks who might not know kind of the inner workings of what goes on behind the scenes in the club, and we completely understand that. One of the biggest ones is our field in Waterbury, which is certainly one of the biggest assets that we have. So when all the clubs in Chittenden County were kind of on hold because they couldn't rent schools or fields on municipalities, we were playing. It's an expensive field to maintain, and we will need to continue to maintain that field throughout the fall here so that it's ready for us to go in early spring. A couple weeks ago, John made an announcement also on our social media about our new partnership with Green Mountain Community Fitness. We've signed a contract with them. We're committed to those 4 months, and we'll honor our agreement with Nick and his staff over at Green Mountain Community Fitness, and we will, pay our rent on time for them as our agreement is said. So we're not raising tuition. We're backing everything up 2 months to give everybody a much better kind of scope of where we're going. We're going to continue to invest in the field, and we've made, I believe, a really huge investment over at Green Mountain Community Fitness for the future of our kids. The other piece that I wanted to quickly chat about is what is happening with the upcoming scholastic season. We're getting questions about that, and I think the VPA is going to be making a decision about that fairly soon, in the next couple of days. But before I cross things up, John, did you want me to cover this, or are you going to handle that?
Yeah, you can keep going. Yeah.
Okay, great. One of the biggest questions that we've gotten from folks is, what are we going to do if the VPA announces that scholastic fall sports is not happening here in Vermont? We're pretty sure we're going to have that information by the middle of next week, maybe earlier. If you did not know this about Capital, we are huge supporters of kids playing high school sports: soccer, basketball, gymnastics, lacrosse, ice hockey, baseball, whatever it may be. We love that our kids play multiple sports. So we are really hoping that the fall scholastic season happens for our kids. But if it doesn't, the four of us will get together and we will implement fall programming for our kids. And that's all I really have for you on that right now, because I guess we don't want to make plans without knowing exactly what the VPA is ready to do. But I want to assure you that we are ready to act if we need to once we find out that information. And lastly, before I send it back to John, a very sincere thanks to all of you for the support that you showed Capital this past season. I really mean that, and thank you very much.
Thanks, George. Okay, the next thing up, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the specific programming that we have coming up in this season. And I'll kind of just carry on what George was just talking about, because we do, in fact, and what Pete talked about prior, we do, in fact, have programming during the fall, and it's called the Fall Development Academy. The Development Academy is a little bit different than what George is talking about. He's talking about, if schools cancel, we will be ready to do new programming for those high school students. The Fall Academy is for players that are U8 through U14. So essentially young players through to middle school players. So obviously with the uncertainty with some rec programs and some middle school programs possibly running, it is a potential place to play for some people who don't have their normal outlets for fall soccer. But like Pete said, our Fall Development Academy is a huge piece of our programming for the entire year, because it's really a chance to teach players how to train in the way that we hope for them to train, certainly when they're younger, but when they continue to get older. And it's almost like an introduction into the actual club scene. So we really encourage young players to join the Fall Development Academy, whether they are a club player for us or if they're not a club player for us. So that's a key differential for the Fall Development Academy. You do not have to be a Capital Soccer Club player to play for the Fall Development Academy. While we certainly hope that would lead some players to join the club on a full-time basis, the Fall Development Academy is really a way that we can work with the community in the community to provide a great environment to learn how to play soccer. So that's the Fall Academy. I'm really excited about it. It's my first season running it. We really have high expectations for it, and we're looking forward to it. The next piece I want to talk about is actually getting into the club season. And I know one question has been, so what are we going to do if things are shut down again from a programming point of view? And this is a really important piece, and it's not something that we're going to be caught off guard on. We're actually going to be implementing what we call the Dragon method into our full-time programming before things are even shut down to begin with. So the season will start in November for all of the teams. And at the same time, all of the players will be enrolled into the Dragon method. And I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so I have the Dragon method. So this is going to be kind of a hybrid training program. So in the past, the Dragon method has been two separate programs. It's been the School of the Regista program, which has kind of been our classroom take on soccer development. We do a lot of video analysis mixed in with leadership training, mental toughness training, but also then get on the court and on the field to do functional training in positions, but also to really kind of to develop the Capital Soccer Club style of play. The other program that we've traditionally had in the past has been called the Train to Compete Strength and Conditioning program. And we've been in the weight room, we've been on the turf, and that obviously has everything to do with getting players ready physically to help deal with their season. So what we're going to do this season is essentially turn those programs into our online training program. So each player will have access to this online training program. So when we start in November, each player will have their in-person training like they normally would during the winter, but then they'll also have access to this program that will include, if I can get it to work, online webinars. So this is kind of the School of the Regista section of things. So we go over the style of play that we want our Capital Soccer Club teams to play. And again, as Pete was talking about, we want that underlying thread of all of our teams to play a similar style. These two pieces, the leadership and the mental toughness aspect of the online training is a really important piece. Obviously, the psychological part of the game is such a huge part of the game. And like Pete said, we're not training, or we're not trying to necessarily create good soccer players. We're trying to create good human beings and create a good training environment. And we feel that addressing kind of the leadership and the mental toughness aspect of the sport is really, really important. And then finally, a big piece is the video analysis piece. Something, if you've taken a School of the Regista course in the past, you know this is a major part of what we do. The next piece is the virtual workout piece. And so we did a lot of this stuff over the shutdown in March and April. I held almost a weekly club training session where people could come in on Zoom and they could participate in a 30 to 60 minute workout. Different coaches did their own things as well with their own teams. What we're going to be offering is virtual workouts, again, while we are still training in person, but have this additional aspect for players to utilize with their teammates, with their club mates, that they can do on Zoom in their living room or in their basement, that focuses on strength, conditioning, injury prevention, but then also the agility and functional technical piece of it. all of the conditioning that we do, we always want to connect it back to the game. So it's something we really want to emphasize. And then finally, the on-site instruction is really important to us if we are able to. And this is something that probably wouldn't happen until we get into the Civic Center. But it's what we did last season before the shutdown. We had a School de Regista in-person session on the turf, and we had a Train to Compete strength and conditioning session on the turf as well. So when the time comes, we're hoping to connect the online piece and the in-person piece. But this year, it's the Dragon method is all going to be a supplement to each player's Capital Soccer experience and not just a separate club add-on. We really want this to be the program that links all of the players and not just a bunch of different teams in the club, but players that all play under one badge. So that's my little graphics presentation. So let me just get my screen right again. So yeah, so long story short, that is how we're handling what if things shut down again. If things shut down again, we miss out on the in-person training, but the transition to the online program is seamless because we're already doing it. So it's a really important thing that we want to highlight here. Last couple things I want to mention. We want to, we're hoping to continue the street soccer. Obviously, renting high school gyms is going to be pretty much out of the equation during the winter. We do have the new space in GMCF. So we're hoping to schedule some time in there to get some street soccer going. Again, we think this is a really important piece of the entire club experience. More playing, not worrying about what a coach is saying to you, not worrying about fans, not worrying about anything, just going out and playing the game and learning from the game. Just really the last piece, again, from my point of view. So really half of my job is on player development, which is what I just covered. The other part is the community outreach part. And I'll bring this back to the Fall Academy and then just working with the local communities in general. We really think that it's important for us to be able to get out into the communities and help other clubs and other town rec programs as best that we can. So we've hosted free coaching clinics in the past for clubs around Central Vermont, for rec programs around Central Vermont. We're actually scheduling one in late August or like the third week in August to help rec programs get off the ground this fall. Hopefully that they'll be able to run. At the same time, we're collaborating through the Fall Academy with these rec programs, with the understanding that some rec programs in Central Vermont aren't going to be running. We can work with the rec programs that are in fact running to hold joint practices or to schedule friendly games, any type of resource that we can provide to the local clubs. Again, it's such an important part of who we are as a club to be able to connect with these communities. And then lastly, just more of the programs that we offer. We want to be able to help out our players who are going through the college search process. Obviously, it's a really unique time to be a junior and senior in high school. When you're thinking about playing college soccer. And thankfully our director of soccer is an expert in this college soccer field. So we have his experience to draw from and many experience from the rest of the directors and coaches. So again, there's so many things to look forward to in this new season. Yeah, I hope I addressed most of my things on my agenda, and excuse me if I've run on a little bit long. But Well, yeah. So let me first open it up to the other directors to see if they have anything to add. And then we'll get into some of the questions, although I don't have a ton of questions submitted. So Pete, George, Eric, anything else to kind of add into what I said?
I think that the most important thing we can say is that we want to invite your questions and your feedback. And I realize that you might or might not have questions right now. If you do have them right now, then definitely send them our way. If you don't, then don't think that the phone lines are closed. Feel free to connect with us individually. You can, we can have phone calls or Zoom calls or emails back and forth. But we want to be that kind of club that connects with our players and continues a common thread from the moment you start playing soccer all the way through your highest levels. So we hope that you won't hold back from connecting with us.
Thanks, Pete. I think I'll just tag onto that there, which is from the beginning, this has been something that we've really wanted to make sure that we did. We live in a small community. We value every single player that is in our club. I couldn't mean that more. Every single one of these kids is very, very important to us as directors. We are very fortunate to which over the years, I feel like we've built some fantastic relationships with our parents. And we understand that maybe a Zoom or an email won't answer your questions or questions that other people have. So reach out to us to connect with us. But I know, we're happy to jump on the phone and have a conversation with you if you need it about anything. And thanks again.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing any questions from the people on this call. I didn't get too many emails in response to the email that I sent earlier today to the club asking for any questions. What we will do though is we're going to go through all of our emails, go through this video, and really kind of put all of our answers together in one spot. So I think we already actually have a FAQ document posted on our website that really kind of gets after the financial piece and what happens if high school sports are canceled. We're also going to work to add to that. So it's almost like it's a live document. So if you come and revisit any of this stuff at any point and you don't have an answer to a question that you have, just as George said, please reach out to us.
John, let me share with everybody where that is. If you go to the cover page of capitalsoccer.net, there's two ways that you can basically enter into the website. Everything on the right is about like our summer camps and our clinics, and everything on the left is a direct link to all of the club programming. So this document right here has been added in the past couple of days it kind of outlines our plans. We will add to it as we need to, but we hope that we kind of are getting in front of any of the questions that people may have. So when you log on, it's on the left-hand side under the club, and I believe it's under, I think I said frequently asked questions, but it's under current announcements, and it's the first link right there. And of course, we always want to be totally transparent with everybody, so it's right out there. Share it with other, families, friends, or parents that weren't able to make this meeting tonight.
Awesome. Well, I think unless anybody wants to shoot me a quick question, I think we'll wrap up the town hall meeting. we appreciate everybody who tuned in live. We hope we answered some of your questions. Hopefully give you some updated information on the upcoming season. And as always, we're available and we'll be putting out new information as the month goes along.